My wife is the only mistake I couldn't outsource.
My wife is the only mistake I couldn't outsource, Ethan said, and the room laughed like it was harmless. But Claire didn't laugh. She stood still under the glass lights, fingers tightening around a ring that suddenly felt too heavy to belong to her. And in that moment, everyone saw a quiet woman, but no one saw the one person who had been holding everything together. What kind of man humiliates the only person keeping his empire alive? 10 minutes earlier, in a silent office upstairs, Claire had already fixed a deal collapsing in real time, rerouted a contract, and stopped a $20 million loss before anyone even noticed. Her name wasn't on the company, but every number that worked did because of her. She moved through rooms without credit, without applause, the invisible architect behind his success, and still he called her a mistake. When the laughter faded, she smiled, not weak, just finished, because she finally understood something no one else in that room did. If she stopped, everything would fall. Across the room, a senior partner checked his phone, eyes widening at the sudden recovery in the numbers Claire had just saved. And for the first time, someone realized who she really was. But Claire didn't look at him. She didn't look at anyone. She slowly slid the ring off her finger, placed it on the table beside his untouched glass, and turned toward the door without a word, because this time, she wasn't fixing anything anymore. The next morning, the office felt different, quieter, unstable. Ethan noticed it immediately. Numbers delayed, calls missed, reports unfinished. A deal he expected signed by noon suddenly stalled without explanation. His assistant knocked, voice tight, asking where Claire's approvals were. Ethan frowned, said she handled small things, nothing critical. But by afternoon, 3 clients requested revisions she used to complete silently. One contract flagged errors nobody else understood. The finance team whispered, confusion spreading across departments. Someone said the projections did not match yesterday's numbers anymore. Ethan checked the system, saw gaps where precision used to exist. Small cracks started forming everywhere at once. By 3 o'clock, a senior partner called, asking who adjusted last quarter's recovery plan. Ethan had no answer, because he never asked before. In the background, an analyst pulled up logs, showing Claire's name attached to dozens of fixes nobody noticed, millions saved, risks prevented, all signed quietly under her credentials. The room went still when they realized how much she touched. Ethan's jaw tightened, something unfamiliar creeping into his chest. Not anger, something closer to doubt. Then another alert came through. A pending deal suddenly dropped entirely. The client cited instability and lack of internal coordination. Ethan stood there, silent, as the number on the screen fell fast. His empire was still standing, but something underneath had shifted. His assistant spoke. Again, softer this time, saying Claire had access to systems nobody else fully understood. Ethan looked toward the empty chair that used to be hers. For the first time, it did not look replaceable. And somewhere between the silence and the falling numbers, one question started growing louder than everything else. If she was the one holding it all together, then what exactly had he just lost? 3 weeks later, a midtown conference room filled with quiet tension. Claire stood at the far end of a long table, reviewing a failing logistics proposal. No one there knew her history, only her results. A senior consultant leaned forward, asking if she could fix a projected loss. She did not rush, did not hesitate, just asked for 10 minutes. When she spoke again, the numbers shifted, clean, precise, undeniable. A $40 million risk turned into a stable projection in real time. The room changed instantly. People sat straighter, pens stopped moving. One executive whispered, asking who she was. Another replied, saying she was the reason their last crisis never reached the press. Claire did not react, just closed the folder and slid it forward. The lead partner stood up, shook her hand, and said they wanted her leading the next deal. That moment did not feel loud, but it was clear she was no longer invisible. Across the city, Ethan sat in a boardroom facing another stalled contract. His team spoke in circles, missing details they used to catch. Someone mentioned an external consultant fixing similar issues elsewhere. Ethan looked up, asking for a name. The answer came slowly, like it mattered. Claire Bennett. The room went quiet for a second too long. Ethan felt something shift again, sharper this time. Not doubt, something closer to pressure. Later that evening, he opened a report from a partner firm. The numbers were flawless, structured in a way he recognized. Instantly, it was her work, no signature needed. He stared at the screen longer than he should have. Back in the conference room, Claire packed her notes as another executive approached, offering her a private contract worth more than her old salary ever was. She accepted with a simple nod, no hesitation, no look back. And as her name started moving through rooms that once ignored her, one question grew impossible to ignore. What happens when everyone else sees her value before he ever did? The invitation arrived on Ethan's desk without warning. A high-level negotiation with a partner firm he could not afford to lose. He walked into the downtown conference floor expecting control, expecting leverage, but the room felt different the moment he stepped inside. People were already seated, quiet, waiting, and then the door opened again. Claire walked in, not rushed, not hesitant, just steady. Conversations stopped without anyone asking them to. One executive stood up to greet her first. Another pulled out a chair for her before she even reached the table. Ethan noticed that immediately. No one had ever done that for her before. She did not look at him at first, just placed her folder down and nodded to the others. The meeting started with her speaking, not him. Numbers, projections, risks, all clear, all controlled. The same structure he used to rely on without understanding. Ethan tried to interrupt once, just once, but the lead partner raised a hand gently, asking him to let her finish. That small moment landed harder than anything said. He leaned back, jaw tight, watching her move through the room like she belonged there more than anyone else. Halfway through the discussion, a senior executive said her name with respect, saying she was the reason their last crisis never surfaced. Ethan felt the shift then, clear and undeniable. She was not the woman he dismissed anymore. She was the one everyone else trusted. When the numbers finalized, the partner turned to her, not him, asking for her decision. She gave it calmly, no hesitation, and the deal moved forward under her terms. Ethan finally spoke, voice lower than before, asking if they could talk after. She paused, just a second, then said, "We can schedule something through my office, not cold, not emotional, just distant." That was the moment he understood something had changed beyond repair. She was no longer within his reach. As the meeting ended, people gathered around her, asking questions, offering follow-ups, treating her like the center of the room. Ethan stood there, untouched, watching it happen in silence. And when she finally picked up her folder and walked past him, she did not slow down, did not turn, did not acknowledge him at all. Later that evening, an internal memo reached his inbox, confirming the partnership would now be led entirely by her firm. His company would remain involved, but only under her direction. Ethan read the line twice, then a third time, something tightening in his chest, because this was no longer about one meeting or one decision. It meant she now held access to everything he used to control, and if she had already taken this much without saying a word, then what else had she been preparing all along? The next week, his calendar filled with meetings he did not control anymore. Every major decision now required approval from her side. Ethan sat in a boardroom while others waited for her response, not his. That shift was quiet but undeniable. An update came through, a logistics crisis resolved overnight, not by his team, by hers. The numbers stabilized before his executives even reacted. Someone said her firm moved faster than theirs ever did. Ethan said nothing, but everyone noticed. Another meeting followed, this time with external investors. They asked direct questions about long-term strategy. Ethan began to answer, then paused when one investor cut in, asking if Claire had reviewed the projections yet. That moment landed hard. Control was slipping, not loudly, but consistently. Later that afternoon, an internal audit flagged a chain of past recoveries. Contracts saved, losses avoided, risks contained. All traced back to quiet interventions under Claire's oversight. Dates matched years he thought he let alone. His assistant placed the report on his desk without a word. He read line after line, each one rewriting his understanding. He was not leading back then. He was being carried. Across town, Claire stood in a glass office reviewing a new expansion deal. A team of analysts waited for her decision. She asked 2 questions, simple and direct, then adjusted the structure in minutes. The deal shifted from unstable to secure. One analyst looked at her like she already knew the outcome before the data arrived. Word spread quickly through the floor. Her name was no longer just respected, it was relied on. That same evening, Ethan attended a private dinner with senior partners. Conversations moved around him, not through him. One partner mentioned Claire's strategy as the new benchmark. Another said her approach should be the standard going forward. Ethan forced a smile, but his grip tightened around his glass. For the first time, he was being compared and losing. When he returned home, the silence felt different, not empty, but exposing. No late night corrections, no quiet fixes happening behind the scenes, just stillness, the kind that showed what was missing. His phone buzzed again. Another update. A major contract had been reassigned under her direct control, effective immediately. No discussion, no input from him. Ethan stared at the message longer than he should have, because this was no longer about losing ground. It was about realizing how much of it was never his to begin with. And as more names started aligning behind her decisions, one question refused to settle. If she had been doing all of this back then what exactly had he taken from her without ever knowing it? That night, Ethan opened old project archives he never reviewed before, files stacked across years he believed he controlled completely. He searched one deal everyone praised as his breakthrough win. The numbers loaded, clean, perfect, almost too perfect. Then he noticed something small, a hidden revision log. Claire's name appeared again, not once, but everywhere. Adjustments, corrections, risk flags, all resolved before reaching him. He scrolled further, heart slowing, then tightening. A $15 million loss never reached the board. She rerouted it overnight without recognition. Another contract showed a last-minute change saving a major client. He remembered celebrating that one publicly, but the timestamp showed she fixed it hours before. Ethan leaned back, staring at the screen, silent. The success he built his reputation on started shifting meaning. It was never fully his. The next file opened automatically, flagged by audit priority, a crisis report from 2 years ago. He remembered that night clearly, thinking he handled it alone, but the system showed she logged in from home, past midnight. She stabilized everything before his first call the next morning. Ethan exhaled slowly, something heavy settling in. Not anger, not confusion, something closer to realization. His assistant knocked lightly, stepping in without waiting long. She placed another file down, saying the board wanted answers. She hesitated, then added one more thing. Most of the systems still ran on Claire's structure. No one fully understood how to replace it yet. Ethan looked up, the words landing harder than expected. This was not just about the past. It was still affecting the present. Across the city, Claire reviewed a new proposal with calm precision. A partner thanked her directly for saving their last quarter. She nodded, nothing more, already moving to the next decision. Back in his office, Ethan replayed moments he once ignored. The quiet nights, the small corrections, the absence of chaos. It was never luck, never timing, never just him. It was her, and for the first time, that truth was undeniable. His phone buzzed again, a board alert marked urgent, an emergency meeting scheduled at dawn, agenda attached, leadership accountability and structural dependency review. Ethan stared at the screen, reading one line twice. Primary inquiry focused on historical operational oversight. His grip tightened slightly, breath uneven now, because this was no longer private realization. This was about to become public, and the next time he saw her, it would not be as someone he dismissed. It would be as the one person who knew exactly what he had taken for granted. The board meeting ended with tension still hanging in the air. Ethan did not wait for anyone. He left early, already dialing her number. It rang once, then went to assistant screening. A calm voice answered, asking him to schedule formally. He said it was urgent, personal, not business. The reply stayed polite, but firm, saying her time was limited. That alone felt wrong to him. He was not used to waiting. Hours later, he showed up at her office anyway. The front desk stopped him before he reached the elevators. They asked for an appointment, like he was a stranger. He said her name like it still meant access. It did not. Upstairs, Claire reviewed another contract, unaware or uninterested. When her assistant informed her he was downstairs, she paused briefly, then returned to her work without changing pace. 10 minutes passed before she agreed to see him. Not immediately, not urgently, just when it fit her schedule. When Ethan stepped into the room, he expected something familiar. He found nothing. No hesitation, no emotion, just distance. He spoke first, faster than usual, words. Not fully controlled, saying he needed to explain, that things were misunderstood. Claire listened without interrupting, hands resting calmly on the table. That silence made him lose rhythm. He tried again, this time softer, asking if they could start over. She tilted her head slightly, not cold, just clear. "We are not something that restarts," she said. The sentence landed without weight, but it stayed. Ethan took a step closer, breaking his usual composure, saying he did not realize what she was doing back then, saying he should have seen it. Claire nodded once, acknowledging the words without accepting them. "You saw what you wanted to see," she replied. No anger, no accusation, just truth. The imbalance shifted fully in that moment. He was the one reaching. She was the one deciding distance. A notification sounded on her phone. Another meeting waiting. She stood before he finished speaking, signaling the end without saying it. Ethan hesitated, then asked one last thing. If any of this still mattered to her. Claire looked at him, steady, unchanged. "It mattered when I was still there," she said, then walked past him toward the door. Outside, her team was already waiting, following her lead without question. Ethan remained in the room alone, something in his chest tightening further, because for the first time, he understood clearly. He was no longer part of her world, and as the door closed behind her, one thought stayed louder than everything else. If she had already let go this completely, then what was about to happen next that he could not stop anymore? The final meeting was set in the same glass room, the one where everything once broke. Ethan arrived early this time, not to control, just to wait. When Claire walked in, the room shifted again, but differently now. No surprise, no tension, just quiet acknowledgement of who she was. They sat across from each other. No audience needed anymore. Ethan spoke first, slower than before, choosing each word carefully. He said he finally understood what she had done back then. Not just the work, but the weight she carried alone. Claire listened, steady, hands folded, no reaction yet. He continued, saying he built his name on things she held together, saying he was wrong, not once, but for years. The words came out uneven, not polished like before. This was not a performance, it was late truth. Claire let the silence sit for a moment after he finished. Then she spoke, calm, clear, without hesitation. "You did not just miss what I did," she said. "You missed who I was while doing it." That line did not rise, but it landed deeper than anything else. Ethan looked at her, really looked this time, but there was nothing left to reach. He asked one last question, voice lower now, asking if there was any space left for them. Claire did not look away, did not soften, did not pause. "There is no version of me that goes back there," she said. The sentence closed something final between them. Not harsh, not loud, just done. Ethan nodded once, but the weight stayed with him, because this time, he understood completely. He did not lose her in that room before. He lost her long before, and never noticed. Claire stood, gathering her folder without rush. No anger in her movement, no hesitation either. She had already moved past this moment long ago. As she walked toward the door, Ethan did not stop her. He knew he could not. Outside, her team waited again, ready, steady, aligned with her direction. Inside, he remained seated, the room feeling larger than before, not empty, just distant. And as the door closed behind her one last time, the final truth settled quietly. She was no longer part of anything he could reach, change, or belong to. And whatever came next would not include him at all. Months later, her name carried weight in rooms he no longer entered. Claire led projects that shaped decisions before they reached public view. People listened when she spoke, not because she demanded it, but because she earned it. Her team moved with quiet precision around her, each step aligned, each result steady. She did not chase recognition anymore. It followed her without effort. The work was no longer about proving anything to anyone. It was about building something that did not depend on being seen. One afternoon, she stood by the window of her office, reviewing a new expansion plan. The city stretched out below, busy, distant, hers in a way it never was before. Her phone buzzed with updates. All handled, all moving forward. No chaos, no silent corrections behind someone else's name. Just clarity. Across town, Ethan sat in a smaller meeting room than before. Fewer voices, fewer expectations, fewer assumptions of control. He listened more now, spoke less, watched details he used to ignore. The numbers still moved, the business still ran, but differently, slower, less certain, more exposed. Sometimes he caught himself looking at reports, recognizing patterns he once overlooked. Her patterns. He did not say her name anymore in meetings. He did not need to. Everyone already knew. Late one evening, he passed by the same glass building where everything once shifted. Lights still on, silhouettes moving behind the windows. For a moment, he stopped, just watching from the outside. No access card, no reason to walk in, just distance. Inside, Claire closed her laptop, gathering her things without rush. Her team had already left, trusting her decisions without question. She paused by the door, looking out at the city lights, calm, grounded, complete. There was no weight left from what had been. No need to revisit, no need to explain. What mattered now was already built. Outside, Ethan turned away from the building, hands in his coat pockets. Not defeated, not broken, just aware of what he misunderstood, what he overlooked, what he lost without noticing. The past no longer argued with him. It settled quietly into place. And as he walked into the night, he finally understood something simple and permanent. He realized it too late. And she no longer needed to be seen by him ever again.